Well, a few days ago, he was a brilliant high school dropout with a mind for computers, an acrobat girlfriend, and an important job mining secrets for the U.S. government. But now, after saying he leaked some of those secrets to reporters and revealing his identity, Edward Snowden is either a whistleblowing champion of American liberty or a self-absorbed criminal traitor, depending on who you talk to. As officials try to track him down somewhere on the planet, ABC's Brian Ross brings us what we know about this man on the run in tonight's Nightline Investigates.
My name's Ed Snowden. I'm 29 years old.
Tonight, he is one of the most wanted men in the world. Snowden is the man who says he is responsible for one of the greatest security breaches in American history, revealing a set of top-secret programs to collect the phone records of millions of Americans and monitor overseas internet traffic.
I, sitting at my desk, certainly had the authorities to wiretap anyone from you or your accountant to a federal judge to even the president if I had a personal email.
Until he checked out sometime today, Edward Snowden had been holed up in luxury for 3 weeks in Hong Kong at the Mira Hotel, according to employees there. By his own account, every meal came from room service. Pillows were stuffed under the door to prevent eavesdropping. He cloaked his face with a red hood, and he used the codename Virax, Latin for truth teller, to communicate with the Washington Post. Snowden told the Guardian newspaper he knew the U.S. would be coming after him, maybe even with hit teams.
And that's a fear I'll live under for the rest of my life, however long that happens to be.
By revealing the massive secret programs designed as part of the effort against terrorism, Snowden is being praised by some as a hero and by others as a traitor. That's what Speaker of the House John Boehner told George Stephanopoulos in an interview for Good Morning America Tuesday.
He's a traitor. The president outlined last week that these are important national security programs to help keep Americans safe and give us tools to fight the terrorist threat that we face.
At the White House, while thousands have signed a petition to pardon Edward Snowden, Press Secretary Jay Carney dismissed any talk of him being a hero.
When you divulge information that provides a playbook, if you will, to efforts that this government undertakes to counter the efforts of those who would kill Americans or attack the United States in some ways, or our allies, you're assisting them in evading those measures.
Snowden says he is a patriot and only revealed what Americans needed to know about what their government is doing.
The NSA specifically targets the communications of everyone. It ingests them by default. Any analyst at any time can target anyone.
Snowden was never under suspicion until he disappeared from his job as a technician at the NSA in Hawaii around the 1st of May, claiming medical leave for epilepsy. Snowden said he didn't even reveal his plan to his girlfriend, identified as Lindsay Mills, a member of a Hawaiian acrobatic dance troupe, according to others in the troupe. Neighbors said the two of them just vanished one day.
One day they were there, the next day they were gone.
FBI agents were seen outside his father's home in Allentown, Pennsylvania on Monday, and lawyers who have dealt with similar cases say Snowden should prepare himself for the worst.
Based on my experience, he faces an indictment with numerous counts under the Espionage Act, which is an antiquated, heavy-handed World War I law meant to go after spies, not whistleblowers. And he would face probably more than $1 million in attorney's fees and be possibly facing the rest of his life in jail.
Another former NSA official who the government tried unsuccessfully to prosecute for revealing the abuse of secret programs, Tom Drake, says the toll on Snowden will be great as it was on him.
Extraordinary, far more than I've ever revealed publicly.
How so?
Well, personal costs, family, all your natural allies disappear because they've got retirements to consider, careers they haven't finished, families to feed, kids in college, mortgages. They want to remain safe.
Snowden spent his teenage years in Maryland. His mother declined to comment, but a neighbor there said Snowden was always at his computer as a young man.
I thought he was doing schoolwork, and come to find out, he didn't even graduate from high school.
But by the age of 29, Snowden claimed he had quite the top-secret resume for someone who dropped out of high school. Starting with NSA security guard, and then a failed attempt to become a Special Forces soldier. Next, a huge jump, a CIA spy in Switzerland working with computers. And for the last 4 years, civilian contractor working with computers at the NSA in Japan, Washington, and Hawaii, where Snowden says he decided to blow the whistle on what he calls the abuses of the privacy rights of Americans.
Over time, that awareness of wrongdoing sort of builds up, and you feel compelled to talk about it. And the more you talk about it, the more you're ignored, the more you're told it's not a problem. Until eventually you realize that these things need to be determined by the public, not by somebody who was simply hired by the government.
A psychiatrist who works with CIA agents and former spies says Snowden fits a classic pattern of someone angry at the system.
The first thing I saw is that he was an extremely bright and articulate person. He reminded me of any number of Generation Y or millennial young men. A certain amount of ego, self-absorption, sure of himself, having kind of grand idealistic notions of how the world should be, and prepared to declare them out loud to the world.
There's been nothing like Snowden's bold, possibly illegal actions since Daniel Ellsberg revealed the so-called Pentagon Papers in 1971. A top-secret history of mistakes made during the Vietnam War. The Nixon administration tried to prosecute Ellsberg, and the Watergate tapes caught President Nixon talking about going after the leaker.
We've got to keep our eye on the main ball. The main ball's Ellsberg. We got to get this son of a bitch. We can't be in a position of ever allowing, just because some guy's going to be a martyr, of allowing the fellow to get away with this kind of wholesale thievery, or otherwise it's going to happen all over the government.
But the prosecution of Ellsberg was dropped because of government misconduct. And now, 82 years old, Ellsberg calls Snowden an American hero.
I've been waiting for 40 years, really, to see a high official who really knew the workings of our system as it has evolved and was willing to tell the truth about it, at the cost of his career, at the cost, very probably, of his freedom, possibly of his life. I'm very impressed by the civil courage that Edward Snowden has shown, and I think that he gives me hope that we may actually regain our Bill of Rights. We may actually regain our constitutional democracy. That was something I wasn't so sure of even a week ago.
Snowden was one of some 850,000 private contractors working for the government with top-secret clearances, but one of the few to fight the culture of secrecy that has spread across the government. He told The Guardian he gave up a $200,000 a year job in paradise to do it.
You can get up every day, you can go to work, you can collect your large paycheck for relatively little work against the public interest, and go to sleep at night after watching your shows. But if you realize that that's the world that you helped create, and it's going to get worse with the next generation and the next generation who extend the capabilities of this sort of architecture of oppression, you realize that you might be willing to accept any risk, and it doesn't matter what the outcome is, so long as the public gets to make their own decisions about how that's applied.
For Nightline, this is Brian Ross, ABC News, Washington.